Here's a brief but annoying message to let you know that you could have first heard this episode 9 months ago if you were a subscriber to our Iron Filing Society Patreon offering.
For the price of a pint and a St Clement's each month, you can get up to 4 episodes a week, 9 months before the rest of the world gets them. Early access to regular episodes, lots of other marvellous benefits, and there's absolutely no adverts or brief but annoying messages like this that will get right on your ticks.
Find out more and subscribe now at tftimemachine.com/ironfilings.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, this is it!
This is Top Flight Time Machine. I am Andy Hotbody Dawson, Papa.
I'm Sam Nifty Delaney, so what?
Welcome along. It's the third part of the Ripley's 2023 Odyssey, where we go through the current all-new Ripley's Believe It or Not book. It's available on all the usual places. It says on the back of the book, £22. Recommended retail price. Nobody pays that for the Ripleys. You can get it on the evil Amazon website for about £8, I reckon. That's where I got mine from. And of course, it's a business expense, so we get to write it off.
Yeah.
It's £8 knocked off the tax bill. Good
Do you
news.
think, you know, our bookkeeper slash accountant, I won't say his name because he might not want it. He might be a shy accountant.
Yeah.
We've had shy accountants. We've encountered a lot of shy accountants.
We had a shy copper as well.
Yeah. But obviously, he's a great man, actually, our shy accountant. He's really good.
Very thorough.
But I'm just wondering whether it would be quite good if he committed to listening to all of these episodes, because so many expenses, legitimate and otherwise, come up and are mentioned. It would make it easier for him to sort out the business expenses at the end of each year if he was listening in.
I don't think
because when we tell him, when he goes, "Oh, this Ripley's Believe It or Not that you've put against expenses," or "this kitten that you bought," right? How is that an expense? It would be much easier if we just said, "Listen to the podcast." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But would then he could then also deduct a subscription on his own personal account.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, exactly.
So everyone wins.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah, good. Do that then. Drop him an email.
I'll tell him, listen, mate, we're fed up of your questions. Just listen to the podcast, yeah?
I've just scrolled down Twitter as we're idly chatting, and there's the front cover of the single "There's No One Quite Like Grandma" by the St Winifred's School Choir. Do you remember that one? Got a number 1 back in the day. And it was on Top of the Pops on BBC 4 the other night, of the choir singing it. And I realised that I'd got one part of the lyric wrong. And they're singing, "There's no one quite like Grandma, blah, 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 blah." And then the little girl sings, "And one day when we're older, we'll look back and sing, 'There's no one quite like Grandma, blah, blah, blah.'" And I thought it was, "And one day when it's over," as in when Grandma's dead.
Oh.
But I've been getting it wrong all this time. It's not. It's one day when it's when we're older, not when it's over.
Oh, so you thought it was rather more macabre than it actually was.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know. I was pleased when I heard that.
That's nice.
Yeah. Obviously, bought that single for me gran for Christmas back then, 1980.
I might try and get it, see if I can get a vinyl one and get my kids to give it to their nans.
Yeah. They'll be all over eBay and Discogs. But anyway, what we're talking about? What's this? Ripley's?
Did you know? We've talked about the Noddy Holder Rock on Tours episode, haven't we?
Yeah.
Where he talks about the Merry Christmas and how it's "Take a ride on my rocking horse, I'll watch the world go by. Buy me a looking glass, I'll look you in the eye."
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah, nice.
Why aren't you more excited?
I don't know how I'm supposed to respond.
Well, that's exciting to people because they may not have known that that's how the song "Merry Christmas Everybody" started life. It was just a sort of a faux sort of psychedelic pop effort that Noddy had written years beforehand in the late 60s. And then when they were given short notice by their record company to bang out a fucking Christmas hit, they didn't have anything to hand and they didn't have much time. So one of the bands said, "What about that song you wrote about a fucking rocking horse? Can't we just change the lyrics to be about Christmas and then we're done?" "Oh, all right, yeah, we'll knock that out." They're still paying their fucking wages to this day.
Exactly. Living high on the hog from that one, Noddy. Good for him.
I found that interesting.
That reminds me, also on Top of the Pops last week, different episodes, Status Quo doing a song called Burning Bridges, which got to about number 19. But all it is, it was then reinvented 4 years later as Come On You Reds with Manchester United.
For 90 minutes we'll let them know it's Man United, here we go.
That's it. Yeah,
I remember the words because I lived with a Man U fan at university for a while, and he fucking sang it non-stop. And it ended up getting fucking caught in my mind, where even I was fucking found myself singing it to myself. It was infuriating. Come on, your heads, come on, your heads. Don't lose your bottle, just keep your heads.
Fuck's sake, stop it.
It's the best football song ever.
I'm West Ham, I can't do this.
I should be singing Bubbles.
Yeah, they did that. And World in Motion by New Order was originally the theme tune to a BBC Two youth culture show. It might have been Rapido. Do you remember Rapido?
What, by New Order?
Yeah, Stephen and Gillian at a New Order did it.
Wow, I didn't know that.
World in Motion, Origin. I'm Googling here. Come on. Origin story for World in Motion. I think it was Rapido.
Well, you know Rapido, that was what's his name? Antoine.
That was it.
Oh, yeah, that's it. So that was Antoine, what's his name, yeah?
Decaune.
What was his?
Yeah.
Decaune. So there's a guy who, actually, I'm meeting him tomorrow for a coffee.
And a catch-up.
Coffee and a catch-up, coffee and a catch-up. It's in my diary.
Oh, man.
Put it in the family diary so everyone can see that I do have mates. My daughter told me that her mate's dad, who I've heard a few stories about, and I must admit, I've heard a few stories about this dad, and I've been thinking to myself, I like the sound of this dad. I wonder when I will meet him.
I'd like
potential
a coffee
friend.
with him.
I had him marked down as a potential friend in my head, but I was too shy to tell. I'm a shy podcaster, and I didn't want to tell my daughter because she would tease me, which she does all the time about everything.
Yeah.
And I go, and then she actually said it was quite sweet. She went, "Oh yeah, so and so's dad. He was asking something that she it was something like she thinks that you might be able to help him with some work he's got or some advice, right? Because of what you do." And I go, "Okay, yeah." And she goes, and then my friend said, "Oh, maybe we should get them together. It might be nice. They might get along." And my daughter, unironically, used the phrase, "Well, it's funny you should say that because I think my dad is in the market for some new friends."
The market.
And I was like, "You didn't say that, did you?" And she went, "Yeah, I said that you in the market or on the lookout. Maybe it was either in the market or on the lookout for new friends." And she said,
"Tired of his old ones."
She said, "Yeah, I mean that makes it sound like I'm trading in my old ones." What she means is he doesn't have many friends. He needs some new friends. Yeah. So I said, I said, I'm a bit embarrassed if it gets back to him like that. That'd be a bit embarrassing, but at the same time I said, "You're right, it would be nice for me to have some more friends." And she was like, "Yeah, that's what I thought, it'd be nice for you to have a new friend, wouldn't it?" So they're literally trying to arrange something.
Right. Is this tomorrow?
No, this is another guy I was going to tell you about. A guy called Johnny Dorks, right? And he came on the Reset not so long ago, and we got on. So I got chatting to him about this, that, and the other, and I was interviewing him about his book, which was about his traumatic childhood experiences, and it took every ounce of my energy to not go make the whole podcast, given the nature of the Reset, make the whole podcast about one detail of his biog that I had read, which was what I really, 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 with all my soul, wanted to know about, and that was this. He did. Remember all the voices on Eurotrash, which is basically the follow-up show to Reportage, right? Antoine Decaune. And it was one of the funniest shows you could watch when you got in from the pub on a Friday night, right?
Was it Jean-Paul Gaultier as well on with him?
Yeah, Jean-Paul Gaultier was on it, yeah.
Yeah.
And the lass with the big knockers as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was so funny, but the main reason it was funny was because they'd have interviews with these sort of deviants from across Europe who are almost always like weird sex people. And the voices over the top, it would be some like fucking Swiss woman who was living in the mountains but kept like 3 different husbands who were all dressed as ponies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the voiceover would always be basically Sir John Fanny Powder going, "Oh, they like it. I dress them up as horses and then we have it off. The other 2 watch. It's just normal to us. I know some people find it weird, but we're happy." And it was so funny. This bloke, Johnny Dawkes, just as a footnote in his biography, it says he provided all of the voices for Eurotrash.
Fucking get in.
So I was interviewing him just about, his book, which was a very interesting story. You should get it. It's called Shadow Man. The plug from there. But what was really amazing was that. So I had to wait till afterwards. I thought, well, we're having quite a serious, in-depth thing. And I didn't find the right spot, Andy, to suddenly go, yeah, that sounds tough, mate. Anyway, how'd you get into doing all them voices? But you know what it was, right? He was just he was an editor, like a film editor, yeah? And he would be editing the show. I think he worked on Reportage, right? And he would be editing it, and the director of the show, right, would come in, and while they were watching edits back, when they were killing time, whatever, Johnny would just do funny voices over the interviews on Reportage. And they just went, fucking hell, you should just do this. This is just funny. We should make a show around this. And they made the show, and they never hired anyone else. He did all of them. I mean, I can only remember that one, but he did a lot of different ones, I think, And so obviously I got him to perform some of them for me.
Yeah.
And he was like, I must admit, every interview I've done, he'd never done a lot of publicity before, and he goes, no, every interview I've done around this book, he went, everyone has not been able to resist asking me to just do the Eurotrash voices. But yeah, fucking hell, that was brilliant, wasn't it?
A kind of influence on this podcast, really, indirectly.
It is, because he didn't, he was never in that game. He wasn't a voiceover artist, he wasn't a performer, an actor or anything like that. He had been a musician, but he was not like a comedian or anything. He was just doing it mucking around. And they were like, yeah, that's really good. We're actually going to put that out on the show for real.
Excellent stuff. So you got a coffee and a catch-up then?
Coffee and a catch-up, coffee and a catch-up, coffee and a catch-up with Sam and Johnny.
Why is there not a podcast called Coffee and a Catch-up? Because one of the celebrities could just interview one of their other pals like they do, but without even having to have any kind of
one of these things where like, you have to name 3 words, and then I say 3 words back, and then you have to choose what planet you'd live on and use those words. You don't have to keep making up these fictitious scenarios. Just have a chat,
because that justifies it. Otherwise, there's no point.
Kate Thornton has had a podcast. You remember Kate Thornton? She used to do X Factor.
Ex-editor of Smash Hits.
One year she was at the same Club Med as me. With the girl off of... she was on a twin holiday. It was her and the one off Corrie who played... I think... It's a daughter. Someone's daughter. But she was quite a big storyline. I haven't watched Corrie in years, but she became really famous. Is there a Barlow daughter or
Tracy
something
Barlow.
like that? I think it might have been Tracy Barlow.
It was a bit of Psycho. Still in it.
I think it was. I think Tracy Barlow and Kate Thornton were on holiday together at a Club Med when I was there. But since then, I did briefly get to know Kate Thornton for another thing. But at the time, I didn't know it, so I just observed. I just observed her. I observed her in the wild. Yeah,
in her swimwear, probably.
No, I wasn't like. Yeah, but she probably in her swimwear. But I didn't mean I was observing her in that capacity. It was a family environment. Anyway, she.
I never saw her with her top off or anything like that.
If that's what you tried to imply, you dirty bugger. She. Get him off! Oi, Thornton, come on! Get him off, will ya?
We're all friends here. It's Club Med.
What goes at Club Med stays at Club Med. Don't worry about that. No, it was nothing like that. But she's got a podcast, and it's called. She's had one for quite a few years, mate. Called what? Kate Thornton's White Wine Something Time.
Natter Time.
It is. It's called what? Did you say White Wine Banter
White Wine
Time?
Natter Time.
Oh, Natter Time, yeah. It's White Wine Chat Time or something like that.
Oh,
and the entire premise is just they have a nice bottle of white wine and have a good old chat.
That's
and I
good.
think There's something more dignified about that than saying, each week, Kate Thornton asks you to name your favourite cutlery, your fantasy cutlery, and what meal you would eat with it. Well, my fork would have to be the fork I had as a child, a plastic fork that I always remember my mother used to serve me my lunch with. And it's always been a lot to me, Zadel. So that's safe then. We're putting your plastic fork in your fantasy cabinet.
Drawer.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we have to move on, as we always do, to your knife. And do you have a song to go with your knife? Yes, my song is The Alarm. It's by The Alarm. And the knife is a carving knife I used to eat a wonderful steak in Andalusia in 1999 when I was there with the man who would become my husband.
I wasn't sure whether I would choose it or not because it doesn't seem to go very well with the plastic fork that I've already chosen. No, that's the joy of the podcast. You see, it's all fantasy.
Rules. There's no rules.
Apart from the rules.
Yeah, apart from the weird rules.
Jalapeño.
But I like that Kate Thornton has swerved all of that bollocks and has just gone, it's called, the only theme is we drink white wine.
Yeah, that's to be white. I will not let red pass my lips.
Do not let red wine even into my fucking eye line, because I do not like it at all. White wine eye line. Kate Thornton's white wine eye line. But yeah, I was going to tell you something else about Kate Thornton then, but I've forgotten it.
A coffee and a catch-up thing. Jerry Seinfeld does comedians in the car getting coffee, but there's a car involved in that. They get in and it's not a podcast, it's a video thing.
Well, that created a problem because around the time that became quite popular was when I was briefly commissioning stuff at Comedy Central, and as a result of that show becoming quite popular, I had a number of different people approach me, basically going, right, you know Jerry Seinfeld, comedians going to get coffee in cars going to get coffee? Yeah. Well, we thought we could do comedians on a bus going to get a tea. And it's very much the British version. Because we've seen that it works in Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, in America, it just works because it's just two funny people simply talking. No script, nothing. And it was like, yeah, but mate, it's fucking Jerry Seinfeld. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not the format that's the successful thing. Yeah. It's the fact that it's Jerry Seinfeld and he's in the car with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not. You think that it's the fact that they're going to get a hot beverage in a mode of transport that is the thing that makes it successful. But it's just simply that it's Jerry Seinfeld doing it, right? That is it. So, you know, like everyone and their wife had the idea. And it was never as good. However, white wine chat time is a good thing. Oh, and I thought you said white wine bants time, which reminds me of on last Friday we got into a game we once did on holiday as a family was change all the James Bond film titles and songs, but make them have a food in them. So Live and Let Pie. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Good.
Codfinger, I guess. I can't remember all of them. I had a good one for, on her mac and cheese Secret Service. Oh, that was my favourite one. I thought that was really good. Yeah. Anyway, we did them all, right? Dr. Pho, you know that Vietnamese soup, pho.
Moonflaker.
Right? Yeah, lovely. So it's good. But then for some reason, I think I was ranting on about how James Bond had shit banter and James Bond would be much better if he was more bantankerous, right? And then we started changing all the names of James Bond to have banter in them, right? Banter or bants. So, Gold Banter, right? Dr. Bants, From Russia with Bants, and so on and so forth.
A View to a Bants.
A View to a Bants, exactly. Golden Bants.
Yeah.
Right. Spectre, simply banter. No Time to Bant.
The purest of all of them.
No Time to Bant. And then we got to like Octopussy. How do you do that? And my missus was like, well, that would be Octobanter, which is about a villain who has got such good banter that he can banter on 8 separate fronts all at once. So he can have he can have different lines of banter going on with 8 different conversations all at once.
Yeah.
Then
would
she
he
rightly says,
be in like a revolving seat?
yeah,
He could just
or just
spin
different
around,
screens up. Yeah. Then she goes, that's what your brother Cass thinks he is, Octobanter. And I became quite defensive and said, he is Octobanter.
It's really good.
I'll tell you, if anyone could do 8 banters at once, it would be him. So I saw him yesterday and said that was his new nickname, Octobanter. And I was like, have you ever done it, mate? Have you ever done it? And he was just like, he was really serious. He went, yeah, of course. I've done 8 banters before, at least.
At least it.
He went,
I've done 10
usually when you're away on a work like conference or something, and there's quite a lot of different people there, you have to sometimes do 8 banters at once.
It's easy. It's just like spinning plates. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can do that, can't you?
Move
Could
on.
do it. Octobanter. I learnt it watching the Generation Game. It was one of the challenges once when I was a kid. But then my son came out with a classic. We were doing it, you know, like the classic line from Goldfinger. Do you expect me to talk, Goldfinger? He's gone. Do you expect me to talk, Goldbanter? No, Mr. Bants. I expect you to bants. And that's how we spent our Friday night.
Wonderful family entertainment there.
James Bants.
Great stuff.
James Bants in Octobanter.
Do you have a bit of a look at the Ripley's Believe It or Not?
Yeah.
I'm looking at page 198. Okay. I don't know why. Now that I've looked at it, I'm not sure how palatable it is. It's entitled Butcher Bird. And it's the shrike, or butcher bird. It impales the bodies of its prey on the thorns of bushes or on the spikes of barbed wire fences. And it basically does that so it's easier to eat them.
Oh, okay. That's quite good logistics. I'm a logistics bird, you see. A lot of people don't find this palatable. But the way I see it is this, right? All us birds, all of us, we all eat other animals. That's just a given. Yeah. It's just nature.
Don't ignore it, because that's foolish.
That's just foolish. We eat other animals. Sometimes we eat each other.
It's not nice. We agree. We all say this to ourselves. It's not nice.
You got to say, what options do we, as birds, have? We don't have a welfare system in the bird world. I'd like it if we did. One day we might, but we don't.
We don't have food banks.
We do not have a safety net. There is no safety net for the adult bird.
It's literally survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest. Therefore, we are all too often driven to eat other creatures. Now, the only difference between me, the so-called butcher bird, which, by the way, is a name that I do not appreciate, but it's what has caught on, right? It is tabloid nonsense as far as I'm concerned, right? The reason I am condemned as the butcher bird is because I choose to eat the flesh of my prey in a particular manner that I find more convenient, right? It is much more convenient for me to stick it up like a big sort of shish kebab, right?
I do not have hands. I do not have cutlery. What am I supposed to do? I put it on a spike, and I can just take my time and go at it very slowly.
I can peck at it.
Have a good nibble.
I can peck at it. It's almost like I'm pecking at a human corn on the cob. See what I mean? And that is the only difference between me and a sparrow, right? Or a fucking a blue chip, or any of these other birds that everyone goes, oh, aren't they sweet? Let's put them on a Christmas card. The only difference between me and them is that I have a better system for eating creatures than they do. That's it. And yet I am labelled a monster.
It's jealousy.
Yeah, I'm labelled a monster. Why aren't I, the so-called butcher bird, right? Why aren't I on Christmas cards?
Why are they calling me the pioneer bird, for example?
Yeah.
The game changer, something like that.
Now that's a name I could get behind.
So, the victims include lizards, large insects, small rodents, and even other birds! ! Well, we know that birds eat other birds, that's not a surprise. The leftover strategy enables the shrike to eat toxic lubber grasshoppers, which only become safe to digest 2 days after death. Now, who's told them that? How do they know this? This is something about nature that fascinates me when there's rules like that. The animals just know.
We know.
You know what I mean?
Well, I was thinking about this earlier, and it's like, because I was out running this morning where the deer are in the park. There's all these deer.
Yeah.
And when I see the deer in my path, I make an effort to go around them because I don't like to ride near them.
No, I wouldn't.
It scares them, but also if there's a big stag there, there's always a risk it could be volatile and chase you if it sees you as a threat. And so I'm running along.
I doubt it.
Very unlikely. I've thought it through loads of times. Like while I'm running and I see the deer, I'm always thinking through, what do I do if the deer starts charging me? And you start thinking, could I quickly climb up that tree? And you assess the trees, stuff like that, you know. But if it ever happens, no matter how much I've planned it mentally, I'm probably a goner. But yeah, so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking how amazing it is that deer, they see quite far in the distance, right? And if you're running in their direction, even when you're very far away, they might hear the slightest noise of like a twig underneath your foot or whatever, and their heads just slowly turn, they see you, and their eyes do not leave you. And even when you deviate your path and run round, they're watching the whole time till you've disappeared again. And that's because they have always, for centuries, been hunted by man.
Yeah.
But none of these deer have ever been hunted, although it is true that Richmond Park do cull loads of them every year.
Do they?
I don't know how that's done. Yeah, there's a massive culling every year.
Yeah.
They do it at night so the kiddies don't see it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it's done. Maybe it's done with poison, I don't know. Poison those deer!
Fucking hell.
Night is upon us, and the children are sleeping.
At least the
Poison the deer. They belong to the fucking king.
Well, yeah.
They're the king's deer.
Well,
if you kill one, that's it. You could be hung. You can still get hung for killing one of the king's deer, I think.
Yeah, quite right.
Yeah, I'm all behind it. But no, what's interesting is going back to the whatever we were talking about.
Butcher bird.
Yeah, they do just. It's amazing how you just inherit these instincts. Do you know what I mean? Like my kitten. My kitten. I picked him up from Sutton, right, which is like half an hour away. And then since then, he's just been in my house. He's not even been out. But if he hears birds outside or even on the telly or something, he perks up.
Yeah,
and then he goes into like predator mode.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's gone through the generations. And then that makes you think it has to be the same with us humans. But with animals, we take it for granted. Oh, they know the instinct. And with humans, you don't. But not to get too deep into shit, that is where a lot of people get anxiety from. Because we evolved in order to be anxious, and because we're highly evolved, we were particularly anxious about potential threats of predators and so forth, right? And that is instilled right into us. Because for years that was it, and we're the most highly evolved creature, so we were more keenly aware than the average creature about potential threats to us, right?
Yeah.
That was when we were living in the wild and so forth. Now we all don't live in the wild, and yet the instinct to be anxious still lingers on, and that is genetic.
Right.
That's evolutionary. That's evolutionary. And so some people, not everyone, but some people find it difficult to cope sometimes with overwhelming anxiety, especially the sort where you don't even... It's not because something's happening. You don't even know why it's there, right? This is the sort of anxiety that I've suffered from over the years, but some people have it really bad. And it's like, you don't even know, but suddenly you're like really like shitting it about something. You're not sure what. So then what you do is you start looking for reasons. You think there must be a reason or I wouldn't be feeling like this. So you start doing an audit of all the shit in your life that could go bad, right? And in the end, you'll find something because, we can't control the future, can we? Just as we can't go back, we can't control the future. So you start thinking, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Oh, it's probably that. Oh, fuck. But really, mate, a lot of it is just evolutionary. It's the same as the deer thinking that I'm going to hunt them, even though I've never hunted them, so they shouldn't judge me like that. Yeah. Right? Or what was the thing you were talking about at the beginning? Was it birds?
The butcher bird.
The butcher bird. Just
knowing that the toxic lubber grasshopper is only safe to digest 2 days after it's died.
He's inherited that. He's inherited that instinct. And so what we're saying is that inheriting instincts, there's a good and bad side to that. On the good side, it'll stop you ingesting poison. On the bad side, it might make you just start shitting yourself in the middle of the day for no reason.
I wonder if there's people who are just starting out on the Top Flight Time Machine journey. They're listening to let's say the 1995, 1996 season, and they're probably thinking, "Yeah, it's good, but I wonder if they're ever going to get round to Inherited Instincts." That's what I'm here for, I think.
It's a bit surface, isn't it? I mean, they're just talking about like fucking Dean Windass here. I mean, when are they going to get really deep into this stuff?
Where are we going to find that more about the toxic lubber grasshopper? Fuck's sake. Well, that was good. We'll leave it there. But there's an excellent piece on page 199, which we haven't got time to get round to. We'll do it next time. It's just called Male Cats. And I'm not going to say any more. We'll start the next episode with it because...
And also, can I just quickly mention now so we don't forget, page 78, a child with a double banana. We'll be looking into that
both of them next
time.
Thanks for listening and goodbye.
Goodbye.